board meeting for downtown Odessa Incorporated. All right, first on the agenda, approval of minutes for June 2013, 2023.
I had one correction, it's almost right. TRZ, doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's tax increment reinvestment zone.
And you know, I should have looked at that. I should have looked into them before I make them anyway. And I did it after you. I'll fix that.
And then on 3A, the hold them accountable, hold to hold. Just a slight correction.
3A.
3A, yep,
Okay.
last sentence.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Somebody was playing golf when they wrote this. All right, anybody have anything else? Good?
No.
Motion to approve minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all right, motion approved. All right.
Sorry.
All right, moving on to financials. State of activity for the month. This is the month of June. Just as, so we know, we still have a lot of invoices that we're still trying to pay out from Fandango. So the numbers, this is just as of the 30th, okay? We're still showing that negative of 15,984, but this is still as a result of us doing the purchase of the barricades and money coming in and money going out. So I think we'll have a better look at this at the end of July. Yeah, I don't know why I printed out so small. I apologize for the next one. It looks like it's, the next one is just a summary of the first page. So if you look at the third one, it's the statement of financial position. This one's going to give us the ending balance for the money market account that we have, and also the one for the regular checking account we have. So the checking account that we have, the interest so far in the last 2 months, 3 months actually, is $280.70, and that's just from us moving that 100,000 over to that money market. So that's not really bad. And then the 90,268, that's our regular checking account that we had quite a bit of all our donations and sponsorships came into that account, but we're still paying out things as well. So I feel like at the end of July we'll have a better count of everything on there. Any questions on these? And the third one is just sort of runs through the financial position that sort of goes how will we have it through the egg hunt, through the parade of lights, which of course we haven't done this far, but it does tell you what we did before. And it's just sort of from October to October because that's the fiscal year for the city as a whole. Any questions on any of those?
Yep.
Pretty straightforward.
Do you need to approve those? I don't even know. Sure. No, we don't. Okay. All right. So if we're moving forward, our new business, we had one new company that applied for grants. They did both the facade and the infrastructure. This is the building for Jim's Big and Tall. They submitted everything. The one for the facade looks good. It was the one for the infrastructure that they turned in one estimate for the entire building. He did it as the builder, the owner. He turned everything in one. And when I submitted that to the design board for ODC, they came back and said, no, we want individual bids broken down. So I had to go back, and then they had to go in and do individual bids for the electricity, the plumbing, and everything individually, because what he did, he took the bids from individual ones, and then he turned it in that he was going to do all the work. But ODC said, he's not licensed plumber, he's not a licensed electrician. We needed bids for each individual permit that was gonna be pulled, and then we could submit it together. I got those, and I just turned that in. I emailed Melanie and Larry this morning, and we're waiting for an appointment so that we can go over that, and then we can move forward. So that was where the holdup with them is.
Don't they still have to have 3 total bids?
It's two.
Two
bids.
It's two.
Two bids.
They were asking for a third one if he was going to do all the work himself. And when he said that, no, I'm not a licensed plumber and electrician and everything like that. So they said that if we could turn it in with the individual bids for everybody, that they would accept 2. They might ask for a third if he was going to be the one doing all the work. So that's where that came into play. I just emailed them this morning. I'm waiting for an appointment for them so that they can go over the design and things like that. They still might ask for more after I turn this into them, but at this point, I'm still waiting to hear back from them.
So as long as everything's broken down, basically electrical is this much, plumbing is this much, HVAC is this much?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
And that's how we're.
Yeah, and he had grouped it all together. He
Yeah,
did
I
the
got
bids
you.
individually, they told him, and then he turned one in for himself.
And see, that's what happens with the other 2 that we're working on is like, well, they want everything in, well, they take it different when it's mentioned to them. They take it as they want the electrician to say, here's this and here's, it's basically just breaking it down, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, framing, and that's how we break ours down. Everybody that I've talked to is like, well, no, it's always different. When they hear it totally different
Yeah.
than what it should be. And I have no clue how we can make it easier.
Can we put an example?
I guess we could do an example on there.
know-
Sheet of a previous bid that was.
So
Like we
if this
do
one
open
works out,
meetings.
okay, then I have those and I can maybe do something online to show it as an example.
Yeah,
That's
because
it.
I break them down, framing, sheetrock, electrical, painting, plumbing, flooring.
Because some of it's
Everything.
covered and some of it's not.
Yes. And they I mean, if you tell them, I mean, if you think about it, yes, it's understandable, but not everybody can see a picture without it being there. So it's kind of like, well, I don't understand what you mean. So,
Yeah.
Putting an
You know,
example out
it's-
there will-
When I talked to them, they said like if they do a central air, only the components for the heating element qualifies for the grant, but not the air conditioner. So it has to be broken down, is what he told me the other day too.
See, that's
That's
where they
smart.
keep
That's
making
accurate.
errors. See,
Yeah.
that's the same problems I ran into. See, the ODC board, their advisory board, they seem to know what they're doing, but when it gets to Larry Robinson and him, he changes things. He doesn't know his rules. That's the big issue I had with him. It covers, if it involves and it has both heating and cooling, it covers all of it. If it's just straight air conditioning, it does not cover it, but if it has both, it does cover it.
And see,
He
when
changes the story every
when I
time I
spoke
talk to
with
him.
him, he told me that, I said, well, and I said, now forgive me if I'm wrong, I said, but if you have a central cooling
Right.
and it runs both heat and
Right.
I said,
It
does
covers
it not?
both.
And he said, no, it needs to be broken down. And so,
but who's gonna put an AC in their building and not a heater?
Yeah.
I mean, we're in Texas, but it's
And
down.
I don't mind coming out publicly on this board and saying that he is a hindrance to the process because he does not know the rules. That's the issue I ran into with him. He wants to have the battle of the wits than just reading the guidelines and showing what it says there. And that's the big
To
issue I
support
have with him.
What Sean is saying, he should have the guidelines and a checklist right there,
Yeah.
black
Right.
and white, boom, boom,
Absolutely.
like, there's no.
No
Right.
interpretation.
Yes,
Right.
but
Yeah.
he's
He
like,
interprets his own thing. And he
Even
did it to
off
me
of
2 or
his
3
checklist,
times.
He's changing.
He comes up with his own rules and
yeah,
guidelines.
it just depending on what's going on.
We had to prove it to him that he was incorrect, and then it got approved at the board. But he literally was arguing that it did not cover it. In fact, his
Who
words
else
to
is on
me,
that committee?
in fact, his words to me were exactly, he goes, well, we gave you free, air conditioning, so you shouldn't be applying for this part of it. I was like,
No.
no, you
It
didn't.
Just talk,
Those were his exact words. to me.
comments like that should not be made.
Right, Yeah.
Because the
Uh-huh.
property owner is doing the city just as great of a service of
Right.
taking on an improvement of their property as a city is helping, make it happen.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, that's
Yeah.
not right.
oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
he said he
Here's a
did us
stop
a
of
favor.
Progress,
Yeah.
which goes along with the other BS happening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
that's-
he has told my clients, you need 3 bids, if you don't turn them in, it ain't gonna happen. I said, it's 2, me and him argued about
It's
it.
2 bids,
On a
yeah.
job site. I said, it's 2 bids. Where the 3 bids came from, I have no clue.
Yeah.
He said, well, it's 3 bids and that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
I was like,
And I verified with the legal, and they told me it was 2.
it's 2.
Two.
But he
So-
argues with you that it's,
He,
you know,
he argues
Where
without
are
knowing
the
the rules.
official rules?
Well, ODC has all those rules, but
They're
they
gonna
have
be
all
in
their,
their,
but they're in
have
there.
them in their bylaws.
It's in there.
The thing is he doesn't know 'em. That's the issue I have with him.
He
I don't
doesn't.
have an
Yeah,
issue
yeah,
with
yeah.
his personal agendas against me or my brother, whatever he has, because I have the same personal agendas against him as he does as with me. But the issue I have is that this has nothing to do with being personal.
should just be
These
black
are
and
rules
white.
and guidelines that
Yeah,
we
should be
follow,
standard.
and he changes them up when he decides he wants to change them up. And so we had to actually go in front of the board and prove to him that he was wrong, and that's when they approved everything on the,
Do you think there's
on the
any
funds.
way he is forgetting or getting confused?
I mean, it's a typical thing every time. So
Every
it
time.
shouldn't be like, well, you built yours, you put a heater, no AC. You built yours, put an AC, no heater. I mean, it's kind of like, how is that gonna happen? It's a
Yeah, it's not
package
going
unit.
to, yeah, exactly, it's one unit.
It's,
And that was my question. I'm like, well, I mean, you have to forgive me on this one, but if it's a central air, I think it has both.
Yeah.
So, and I did question him on that. And he said, oh no, only the heater part, and that they would subdivide it. And I was like, okay. So what I did this morning, I scanned them, the ones that they sent me. I sent it back to both of them. We should be having a meeting, and then I can get back with y'all on what is told, what happens at this meeting. And if we have more issues, then I will let y'all know so that we
When
can.
is that meeting?
I
Did
just
you
sent
get-
it.
Did they give you any indication? I mean,
We had wanted to set it up actually yesterday, but because the receipts were not proper, he didn't want to meet. So then we put that on pause again, waiting for the receipts to be brought in, and I got those, so I sent it to him this morning. So we should have a meeting hopefully in the next week or so. And then from there, I'll figure out a little bit more, because this is the first time that I start the process from the beginning. I've come in and done extensions and stuff with them, but this one's my first one all the way through, so I'm learning as well with them. And so I had that question about that central air
and
too.
you know,
It did make sense
it
to
all
me.
has to be the same. If we tell clients, this is how it needs to be, and then they talk to somebody that said, no, it's not like that, that's just confusing
It is.
everybody.
It is.
It has to be the same no matter
Yeah.
what.
The thing with me is I'm hard-headed, so I'm gonna continue to go forward. But what I'm concerned with is not so much me, is the
Somebody
people
that-
that are coming in. I'm scared that they're gonna be hindered and that they're gonna just
Just
shy
not.
away from not doing
Yeah.
anything downtown. And we don't want that. We want people to come.
Right.
We don't want people to be scared going, well, every time I go in there, this guy shoots me down, he tells me something different.
Yeah.
We want people to come in and know, hey, these are your guidelines, follow those and you'll be just fine. But we don't have
Do you
that.
have access to all of the stuff? Or you don't have a copy of that anywhere?
Of what stuff?
she's talking about the rules.
All the
that they-
requirements?
I don't
all
think
the-
I have it, but I can probably research it and get it.
Oh, yeah.
Because that might be something good for you to have.
I have all the
very
rules
localized.
for our side. I don't have the one for ODC. I don't.
Should be the same.
They should be
Can
the
we,
same.
well, can we do something with ODC to get their checklist and compare our checklist?
sure.
And
Yeah, I can work on getting
I
that.
mean,
A simple conversation or a simple
Exactly.
Yeah,
ask.
Yeah, I can work
Yeah,
on that,
that'd
and
be
as soon as
great.
I get that, I can email it to y'all, so y'all can
Yeah.
have it as well.
I think the best thing would be to meet with the board rather than with them as the kind of liaisons for the board, because you're gonna get the same type of resistance talking to him.
Stupid.
Yeah, and
no
so
reason.
I think that you need to talk to the people, you know, the president, whoever, and just go over those guidelines and get those directly from them.
Okay.
So that Larry can't override anything that the president has on that list. It's not even so much the president, it's what's on the list.
Okay.
But I brought that to their attention, they do know that. You know, I have no problem saying it here, but we've had repeated issues with him on anyone getting approved for anything downtown.
Okay, so I'll work on that, and then hopefully we can get that and we can compare to what we have. Because if we have something in our packet that's not right either, and it doesn't match that, then we can get that corrected as well. We can work on that.
And maybe make ours a little more in-depth so that it covers some of the things that they're experiencing. Now, the same thing happened to me. I don't think any of us had a completely smooth experience with it because there are things that aren't told, there aren't things that aren't, everybody knows the same thing.
Clear.
Yes, they're not clear. We had that experience as well.
I think if it's just mentioned the same between us or ODC, people will understand it. It's the confusion of, this is what you do. Well, they told me I can't do that.
Right.
Well, no, that's the
The
confusing part.
checklist is the checklist.
That's the
whether
confusing
it's them or
part.
us or the city or
Is it always
building.
Larry? that's
It's
the
always Larry.
liaison?
It's
No, but-
always, well,
I'm
no,
so
it's
sorry.
Larry and,
Melanie.
Melanie?
Melanie. And Melanie, you know, we had a discussion, she said, you're right, you're 100% right about
Did
this.
she
I said,
not
so why is
speak up
Gibson Mercy?
otherwise?
Well, there's a reason for why she had to abstain from it, because her firm actually represents my
Right, no,
Oakville
no, no,
company.
and I get that, I just meant
Yeah.
rules and
They're writing
regs aren't
business-
something
they're
you
writing a
have.
business contract, she's my attorney
Yeah.
too. so-
Right,
Yeah.
but regardless, that doesn't mean that she is to abstain if the rules and regs aren't being abided by. She can state, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She can make
But if
that
you
real
don't
clear
catch
to
them
the
both
board
at a
before.
meeting, He's
Yeah.
by himself throwing, calling the shots, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely,
that's what I'm saying.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what made it even harder.
Yeah.
You know, and what this comes down to, and I'll say it, my brother worked for him for about 4 or 5 years. He has a strong dislike for my brother. My brother has a strong dislike for him, and by guilt by association, because he's my brother, I
Yeah.
caught the same resistance from him. And so that's the big issue I have with him. He'll say he didn't, but he knows full well what he was doing. And we got into a big argument at the city council meeting back here, prior to that city council meeting
Yeah, I
because
was
of
there.
that.
Sean, you're so outgoing.
Yeah, well, you know, have you met Larry Robinson? Have you met Larry?
Imagine if you were
Yeah.
hard-headed.
Yeah. Imagine if you were, could you imagine? I'm going to speak my mind on that, because that's our job as our board, to make sure these people come in.
It
And
has
then
to be done.
when we send it to them and they shoot them down and these people get discouraged and they run away, well, then all of our work and all of our efforts
Yeah.
are no good.
Right.
You know,
This should not be a measure of their tenacity to
Right.
do it. Like,
Right.
it should be easy
Right.
and straightforward.
Okay, so I'll work on that, and that way we have it black and white, and we know exactly, and we can compare to what we're also handing out.
yeah.
Okay, I can work on that, definitely.
I'm curious, I don't know who E&L home builders are they gonna run this business out of there?
I
Or
was
what's
wondering
the
what they were
business?
gonna do.
No,
with it.
they're,
He is
understanding is
a,
it's
my
a
understanding, his
bar.
experience is a home builder.
okay.
He has
Like a
built
club
several
or a
homes.
bar.
This is the first time he is going into a commercial building.
What is
And
he doing with the building?
he's going to run,
A venue?
he's going to run a
it'll
restaurant.
be a restaurant bar.
And he's working also with the owners of Sinaloense and the bar. That he's pretty much building it. They're in a partnership. So he's taking care of, he owns the building, he's fixing the building, but I believe the second partner would be running the official business out of it. Because that's actually who I talked to. He's the one turning it in, is Fernando Rodriguez from Sinaloense in the house. He's the one that's doing the grants. He's the one I'm talking to.
Builder.
But the builder is Edward
Edward,
Escamillas?
Yeah. that's
Yes.
what it is.
That's who E&L is owned by. So I think it is a little daunting for him too, because he's used to more of the home building and the rules.
This is
And,
totally
and this is completely different.
Yes.
Commercial's very different from personal.
Yeah, so it's his first time, and so I think that's where that's going, so. But we're working on it, and I just wanted to let y'all know that that's where the initial hiccup was the receipts and the invoices that they sort of rejected the first time around. All right, any questions or anything else? Nope. All right, so if we're moving on to number 4, the events updates, farmers markets has been a lot of fun. We canceled the first 4 dates, and then they gave us 4 new dates. We just canceled 2 out of the 4 dates. We are down to only September and October at this point. They're not doing anything July or August. They're saying it's because OC Downtown is not opening. They canceled their grand opening on the 18th. I'm not sure what the issue is there, but I sort of felt like we could still have the farmer's market around it, but they're not going to. I'm just a silent partner on this one, so just so y'all know.
So they're waiting on the
OC
OC.
downtown.
grant
OC
to be
downtown, yeah.
completed.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a couple of things going on. Number one, I think that they do have one subcontractor issue, but the other is OC, they only want to do, their first impression is like the biggest impression, right, that they make, and that's how they roll. They want to have like some internal kind of mock events for themselves, just because they're going to bring staff that has never done what they're wanting to do, right? And I think they're going to do a little bit of simulation with their staff So at the groundbreaking and these events that are going to immediately follow, they're ready.
They're ready to go.
Right now,
And that makes sense.
they don't have anything like that on campus, and so yeah, they're going to need another month or so.
Okay. So that's actually, I'll be canceling the permit for them today. So I'm going to wait to see a little bit closer to the dates to submit permits again from our end for the farmers markets.
I think I don't know if it's this Friday, it might be next Friday, they'll have their final on everything for the project. The contractor, yeah.
Did they fix the water thing?
Yeah, so they have a little bit of turf, they have the children's area canopy to put on. I think they finished the fence last week. So they're real close.
The signage is beautiful. If y'all haven't seen it yet, you should go look at it.
I gotta go by
It's
there.
really nice. I mean, it's very simple, but it makes a statement. I really like it.
Yeah.
So once we have new dates for that, then I'll let y'all know on the farmers markets. First Fridays, it still looks like we're going to get going on August the 4th, and that's with a partnership with the Odessa Arts Association. I don't have too many details on that. I know that the website went live, the logo is done, and it's just sort of fine tuning everything in the next couple of weeks of which businesses are participating and who's not. So,
And I think most of it is on the businesses. Like,
yes.
Randy's kind of helping put stuff together, but most of it is on the businesses to do. We want to bring people downtown, so we need to step up and
Sure.
participate.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm excited. I love the concept. Once it was explained to me, I like the concept. Lowriders Against Bullying, we have that one. I'm working. I did not find a contract for them. So that means I will draw one up this week and have him sign it. That way, it was one of the ones that I thought was already done. But when I went back and did the research, I couldn't find it. There's not one. So I'll draw that up, have him sign it, and notarize it. That way we can have a good formal agreement between us and him. Team Texas actually canceled.
Have you asked him if he has an agreement?
He does not.
Okay.
No. So I think it was just a meeting that he had with the previous city manager, and that's where everything just sort of got, it's done, it's going to be okay, we're going to move forward, and I took it as we had one, and so, but, yes.
I know I've hashed this out about this and everything with the incident that happened last year with them. I want to make sure that, I think the biggest issue is that both, the gentleman running it and his wife were both pretty inebriated.
Yeah.
I want to make sure if they're running an event that they should not be out there drinking at that event. I mean,
You're putting it in their contract, right?
yeah.
Yes, I'll
Yeah.
make sure to find, we'll add it to
She
that
said
one.
last time she would.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I know we've already hashed that, but I just want to make sure.
No, yes, I remember that one.
Why did Team Texas cancel?
This organization is the one that they're trying to get down here they're trying to sell Odessa to this committee so that they can sort of push Odessa to other people. We had a set of where we were going to do that because they wanted to bring electrical bull and axe throwing, and then they wanted to move it to the park because of the date it's so hot. Well, the city does not allow alcohol in the park, so that was a no-go. So it was back to the streets, and it's just a few hours. And then they decided that they're afraid that people are going to come to Odessa and only remember the heat.
They're not
You
wrong.
can't do stuff in the summer.
Right.
It's West Texas in summer. This is
So-
how it's worked for, I don't know.
I know. I'm like, but
An
that
hour
literally
here
takes
to
a
dawn of
bunch
time.
Time.
we survive in the heat,
Come on,
but
people.
they just decided that they are going to move the event indoors completely. So they're still holding
But
it the
still in
same day.
Odessa.
It's still coming.
Okay.
They're still trying to get them for the promotion, but they're moving the event inside.
I mean, that makes sense. That's hilarious.
I
But
was
they
like-
might only have heat in that building.
That would be covered. That would be covered.
So
I thought he wasn't covered on the AC.
We don't really know
Yeah.
depends on the day
You know, in
ask.
West Texas, it should be the opposite. It should cover
It should.
everything,
I'm
not
just
heat,
saying.
you know.
So I thought that was funny. They're like, no, we don't want them to remember just the heat. And I'm like, well, that's about 90% of what we are.
Well, I guess it's a distraction from the smell of crude, right? So
Yes.
they'll forget about the smell of the oil, huh?
Right. So that is why they decided to move everything indoors. So
Crazy.
we no longer have them scheduled with us. State of Downtown, we still have everything on the 14th. I know we had gone through there, we double checked all our deposits, everything, other than the plane ticket was refunded, but we'll make sure that we get everything going smoothly for that day as well. We'll get going on that.
Have you started reserving stuff for that?
Everything, yes, we told them, we
you just
called,
changed the date?
yeah, we changed the date, they held everything. But I'm gonna call all the businesses again and make sure that, it's been a few weeks since we talked to them again, I'm gonna reconfirm everything with them as well.
Okay.
And then tacos and tequila, everything still looks to be going well with them. I know last time I told y'all they were still having issues with the music and things like that, but they're excited. We cleared up some questions about food trucks coming from Midland and things like that, so they're even more excited now. They thought that we could only have food trucks from Odessa, and I was like, no. We got that clarified through the health department, and so they're even more excited about this event. So just the little stuff, and they've had them here several years, so we have the permits going on that as well. Of course, Treats in the Streets will be October 31st, and then the Parade of Lights, but I don't have too many details on that yet. Old business, this is Firecracker Fandango. I got the letter signed that they would use no profanity they had no issue signing it. We got it notarized, no big deal. And, we actually had a really, really big turnout with NB Riders. They have
I
a
saw the
big
video. Did
following.
y'all see the video on that?
I haven't
No,
seen
I
the
just had
video.
heard.
My God.
Do we have a number yet?
It looked like Woodstock.
I don't
It was
have a-
unbelievable. No, I'm not
Seriously?
kidding.
It was a
No,
lot of
I'm
people.
serious. You need to see the video of
The
that.
trash can people wouldn't go empty the trash cans because it was so packed.
Yeah.
There were so many people,
Oh,
which
it
is
was hard
good,
to
but
get.
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, you can look on,
Well,
yeah,
they're gonna have
I,
to take the little motorized, and they're probably worried about the liability.
Well, yeah,
You see what
but I
I'm
mean,
saying?
I think
yeah,
they
but
just
then we
waited
had to
till
go
after,
pick it
yeah.
up. We were there till 2:00 in the morning picking
Picking up
trash up
trash up.
because no trash cans got emptied. So, well, not no, but like in specific areas.
The busiest.
So once people left, there was just, you couldn't see
Garbage.
the asphalt.
Yeah.
It was just covered. So we
That
were out
was
there with trash
probably,
bags.
everything seemed to have gone really smoothly. I don't know if everybody else's take on it or any complaints that y'all had, but
heard
everything went, everything
we had a
looked
good-
good except the
event.
trash. That is our biggest issue. And just so y'all know, I have a meeting on Thursday
Well-
to talk about the trash and what went wrong.
that was addressed last year.
I was gonna
And-
say, that's an issue every
Yeah,
year.
that was addressed last year by Michael Marrero, and they said that this year they would not, pick up the trash cans early like they did last year. They did it to
Well, they
the,
didn't pick them up at all.
yeah, well, that's, yeah, well, they picked them up.
Last
Did
year,
they
it
not
was 2
grab them
hours
early before him?
and it-
Why
Yeah,
would they do that?
yeah,
I was told
it
by
to
somebody,
make
and I
it
haven't
more
been able to
convenient for their
confirm it, that they
schedule?
picked them up at 9:30.
yeah, exactly. And they
Just
weren't
to
supposed to
make
pick
it-
them up till later. Now, of course, we don't have, Marrero's not in place anymore, and Casey's not here anymore, but they actually had a meeting about that because they did that to Casey last year.
Yeah.
But they
and
didn't
so
get picked up,
They picked them up early. They
right,
picked
and
them
they
up
didn't
very
do that
early.
this year, they just didn't dump them
Empty
at
them.
all.
Yeah, yeah, so we're running into issues with trash. This is 2 years in a row, so we definitely have to have a meeting with probably the city manager.
And
on
that's
this.
beyond Fandango. I mean, that
Yeah.
happens
Well,
at,
I'm
Yeah.
having that meeting on Thursday.
Okay, good deal, good deal.
And it's with
Good.
us and.
All right, I know you can take care of this, you can get this.
Yeah.
fixed.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
big issue. Honestly, I think there was a lack of containers as well. I think if we had 50, we need 100. You know, there's some issues that we could have taken care of, like having extra extra barrels out there, and then also who was servicing them and who couldn't pick them
Yeah.
up, and there's
Yeah.
just questions that,
were they using the ones that Halliburton gave for the
Yes.
parade? And there's not 50 of them?
there was 50 out
Oh.
there.
They're just
Okay.
saying 50 wasn't sufficient.
Yes, that's
It
part
was-
of it.
Well, it was a huge crowd, so.
It was,
You
it
can't,
was.
you can't, I mean, it was incredible. It really was
Yeah.
incredible. It was
Okay, based
beautiful.
on that idea,
Uh-huh.
if it continually grows, do we need to add trash cans every year?
I would think so.
I mean, it'd just be an
Or have
SFE.
trash cans downtown to begin with.
Great idea, Craig.
No, you said you added that to the agenda, right?
I thought I did, I don't see it, but
No, but you told me first.
Yeah, I get that.
They were well
How do they
spaced.
normally empty them? Do they normally have a motorized cart that they use?
yeah, they have that little Kubota thing that they,
That's what I thought. And so if it's that crowded,
It's
you're
that
gonna run
crowded,
into that
you can't
because
move.
liability, I'm telling you,
You can't drive
I wouldn't
through
want
people.
them with my liability. I would say just add extra trash cans and leave them and don't dump them.
One of the issues
It's
was
safer.
we didn't have enough people servicing the barrels. We didn't find volunteers for it. We didn't have any on our end, and then we didn't have enough through KOB either. It ended up being a city department that had a sign-up sheet. They had 5 people doing it. I don't think it was enough.
Yeah,
Then
sure.
it came to the point where you couldn't drive through with the motorized. And if they couldn't drive up to it, they weren't going to service them. So what do people do? They leave the trash on the floor. So it was just a double issue. It's not having enough people out there to begin with. And I guess some of it was I just didn't recruit enough volunteers. I think I ended up with 23 on my list. About half showed up.
That's always gonna happen.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And so that happens.
Yeah.
But then we didn't get enough, we didn't find litter busters, like the groups that you normally pay for volunteering to do the trash. We didn't get any that day. We couldn't find anybody to do that. So it's just, I think, a little bit of everything. And you're right, with this kind of event, trash is going to be an issue no matter how good and organized you are.
I think more trash cans, though, I think would,
Take a lot of,
it would
Yeah, I
reduce
think so.
the
I
issue.
think so, yeah.
yeah.
It might not eliminate it, but it's going to at least reduce it.
And I agree with that. And lesson learned. When they made the suggestion of 50, it sounded good.
Don't get me wrong, it was a
Yeah,
fantastic
no,
event. It was
If
absolutely
that's the
fantastic.
only issue, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's
oh, it was a fantastic
that's-
event, yeah,
That's a huge win.
absolutely.
I do have a question on volunteers. Is there anything where, I think half of us are new, is there something that we are supposed to be doing to help mitigate or help push volunteers to her? Are all of us supposed to provide like 5 volunteers or what? Because is that something that we as a board, that's part of our responsibility to help with?
It's not a bad idea.
And if it's
Not a bad
not,
idea.
can we make it a norm?
No, that is an expectation.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I
Board
I don't-
members, financial support, time, I mean,
All of it.
Yeah.
all
All of
means
it,
of
yeah.
support, yeah.
The
that's-
normal stuff that you do when you're on the board.
Yeah.
It was hard to find people this time, though. With the 4-day weekend, people were gone.
Yeah, it was an awkward, it really was an awkward
It
week
was
because,
hard.
you know, you had
Every
the
group I
first
spoke
and then the
to.
fourth on Tuesdays, so it was,
Craig
Yeah,
helped
4th
me
on
get emails to a lot of
Yeah.
companies per him to help me try to get. And I can tell you, was it 4 or 5 companies that we went to?
4 or 5.
Right, I think it's 4 or 5. Medical Center sent it out and they said, it's perfect timing. We're needing volunteer hours. I had 4 people from Medical Center show up and they have about 4,000 people on their books.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I can tell you the city, we had about 3 that volunteered and we have about 1,000 employees. So volunteers was probably one of the biggest things.
You couldn't even man all the gates appropriately, right?
No, we ended up having councilmen come in and they helped with that. And that's how we were able to, at one point, I was going to close one of the gates because I couldn't man it. And Councilman
just
Haney actually showed up and he said, I'm going to do it. And he actually loved it.
No,
Good.
he'd make a good bouncer.
I thought it was funny because he ended up texting me in the middle of the event. He goes, I love this gate. And I'm like, good. Stay there.
Stay there. Don't leave.
I
Yeah.
had a question, do you have any numbers as far as, how about how many people do you think?
No,
will
they're
visit?
working on that. I have to get the numbers, is going to be through Discover Odessa. They have to run an application, and they explained it to me yesterday that they can sort of outline the area, and they're going to go off of pings off of the cell phones.
Geolocators.
So then they told me that you may want to add 1 to every, if they give me a number of 5,000, then I need to add 1 for each person because a lot of parents were there
With their
with
kids.
multiple children.
Right.
So
Especially
they,
for 4th, yeah.
yeah,
Right.
so they told me that go ahead, whatever number they give, to add a number to each one, just to double it. But hopefully we should have that number by Friday. They said just because it takes a little bit of time to get that application and the request in.
Do you mind sending that to us when you get it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm really curious about it.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
The
Well-
things that we did talk about is hopefully next year is having someone, while I was helping put up food trucks, if I walked off, a food truck would park somewhere and it was just getting so totally off. We need somebody that's there
Permanently.
constantly, somebody running the food trucks where they're gonna park, somebody running the bank, I mean, just somebody running every little spot, because all the numbers that I had
That's true.
weren't matching what was going on. People were just parking over what they should have, and it's like, I was just back and forth. Finally, we just decided, you know what, park them along the curb, you know,
Yeah.
keeping them off the building, but we just let them park wherever.
Wherever there was a spot.
Yeah, cause it was just uncontrollable.
Because we
the
went out
people
there and we
coming in.
marked them. And
Yeah,
It was all marked, but some of them were overlapping, some were somewhere they shouldn't be, some were.
And Anthony's right. He really stepped in and helped me a whole lot that day. But I think you're right. If we have enough
Just-
people, you would almost put one person on this side, on the left side of the road, and one on the right.
And the
Because
only
when
way
he
to-
was on the right side, somebody would pull in on the left side and take up the space when
And
they were there.
basically, it's like the only way you can park is if you check in. And that's it. If you didn't check in and you're parked, then, you know, just come in and check in and do all that. The other issue that I ran into is I walked downtown Friday with Gary, the building official, because there were some buildings that had issues. First of all, Jim's big and tall, the glass was broken.
Yeah.
So we were trying to fix that. And it's like, do you have his, I just happen to have everybody's number, but we need a list of everybody downtown, of their phone number, address, contact, email. Because if there was something wrong with the building, and it's like, how do we get a hold of them? Everybody I got a hold of was out of town.
Yeah.
Everybody. So
We're building that list.
at that time, I'm taping windows, I'm taping stuff for everybody's building because nobody's around. So it's just, and Gary had no clue how to get a hold of anybody.
Yeah, and I'm building a directory, and I think we'll try to put it online so that you can reach it, and then maybe we can even put it in a binder or something for everybody that has it. I think we're at about
'cause we
30,
can add
30,
to
40
it.
businesses already, and I know I'm lacking, but
Well,
we're
and another
working
thing-
on that.
They told Gary Thursday evening about a lot of the buildings that needed to be repatched, moved, whatever. By Friday, he's like, you tell me the day before. So now he's scrambling around Friday trying to figure out everybody. And it was like, it's just something the city should have done Tuesday and drove through and said,
A week ago.
yeah,
A
this
week
needs to be
prior.
fixed, that needs to be done.
That's-
I had scaffolds in the front of my building. That was one of the big deals. I was like, well, they'll be done here in a couple hours. You know, it's just, they didn't know how to get a hold of anybody.
Yeah, I sent Mr. Connell some emails on some of the stuff on that we were talking about, like some of the things like that, you know, the old signage, you know, the windows being broken, stuff that's boarded up, you know, stuff that we need to kind of work on and help people maybe get repaired so that it's already repaired, so we don't have to do that inspection prior to that. You know, I mean, that way it would have already been taken
That should be
care
our
I
of.
didn't even know that they
Yeah,
did that.
Absolutely, so.
I wasn't told.
Well, apparently, what's the new girl down in the inspections?
Marlena?
No. She came from Midland. What's her, Liz? Her name?
Elizabeth Shaughnessy.
Yeah,
Oh,
she just
yeah,
came from,
Shaughnessy.
so Liz basically Thursday apparently drove through downtown and gave Gary a bunch of addresses and said they need to get fixed. But
Okay.
that was Thursday. So Gary's Friday trying to call everybody, and every person I called,
Already
out of
gone.
town. So, and like I told Gary, I was like, I'll help, but these aren't my buildings, why am I doing it? You know, it's like, you know, get a hold of everybody in time and say, okay, you know, they may be going out of town Friday, catch them Wednesday, and so you need to fix this, you need to fix that before,
Yeah,
Well,
that's-
and if it's a standard, then we don't have to do it for
yeah.
Right.
the events anyway.
Yeah.
It's just
Just
how
done.
downtown Odessa should
Yeah.
look in general.
Yeah, it's the particle boards and all the old signage that don't work and things like that we need to kind of address and so that we can make downtown look better.
and I also
mean-
know that I need to, I haven't looked into it, but I need to get that film with that says like on the empty one, so that,
Oh, yeah.
on it, yeah, as well. I think we have to have permission from each home, business owner, right, though?
Okay.
Yeah.
I can
But
see
I
that.
don't know
you
why
would
they
want
would,
to, yeah.
But,
I don't know why they would want.
right.
Yeah, so,
Well, the two things I wanted to say is next year will be easier because you'll have had a whole year to plan it.
oh, wait, I'm gonna be here next year?
And what we've done in the past that worked really well is through the play committee, kind of assigning captains and, you know, you're in charge of the food trucks and you need to figure that out. And, you know, this board can be engaged the same way. So just kind of assigning duties to, you're in charge of Kara, you're in charge of volunteers.
How is it that I always get put in charge of volunteers? I'm good with that.
You brought it up. You said it.
I like doing the volunteers anyway.
No, you like talking to people.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's true.
So again, just don't
So if you're on
forget
the
about
board
all
or
of
not,
us.
you're still in charge of volunteers.
Oh, right. Nice.
I'm assigning you that now.
Well, I mean, I work at ECISD. I have lots of Texas Scholar hours and students that
Talking
need
about
to
last time.
fill. Yes.
And that's the hardest part is it was a 4-day weekend and just people were
Yeah.
out.
People are gone.
I even had OC. They had told me they were going to come out and put a tent and have a booth and hand out stuff. And the day before, they're like, there's no one here to man it.
Yeah.
There's nobody here to man it. So they pulled out. So because
Is it worth looking into doing it on a different weekend or no? I'm just curious. I
I
don't
think
know.
it just depends on.
Well,
the
I think if
dates.
you moved it, you would
Wednesday
need
next
to
year.
move it to the actual 4th.
Yeah.
And, but
So
you
not
but you would
like,
still
you know,
run
our
into the
10th
same
or
issue.
We won't have a 4-day weekend next time.
No, it lands on
Yeah,
a
that
Wednesday
was
next year. I
weird.
Yeah,
think.
it's a Wednesday, so
Tuesday
you're
was
gonna actually
weird.
have fewer people going out of town even than if it was on a Monday because it's in the middle of the week.
Absolutely.
You know, they're not gonna wanna take 4 days off of work, and that's what they'd end up having to take.
Now, in
really.
4 years, we'll have it on a Saturday.
Yes.
Well, and yeah, it's just what it is, and I think next year will be a lot easier. Just this year was difficult because of the 4-day weekend.
Yeah.
And it wasn't bad by any means.
No,
I
no,
mean,
it
I
was
don't-
loaded.
I have not heard
Think about that.
one negative experience
We
during
have.
it other than ours picking up trash
We had a
or trying
large
to figure out how
turnout.
to man the gates.
You know, of course, Midland didn't actually do theirs till what, Monday or Tuesday?
they did that on their actual day.
Right, and so
the-
we
on Tuesday.
had, the turnout, I'm almost certain it was bigger than last year's. The small rain that we got that cooled the temperatures down by about 5
Yeah.
degrees.
That helped.
Just made it even better. I mean, it just, at first I thought, oh, we're gonna get some heavy rain, but we didn't. We just got enough to kind of cool things off and
That's
made things
awesome.
smooth,
I
and
always
it just
think
got
it's
even
fine.
busier. You know, and so I think
It
that
was
it was such a great turnout. I have no doubt in my mind that it was bigger than last year. So that's why I'm anxious to see those numbers.
The numbers, yeah, I'm ready to see them too. And they're working on that.
Do you have a guesstimate? Anybody?
No,
I thought it was less than
Less-
last year.
What I
I
saw,
don't-
it looked more. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that, I
It's just
think,
hard to tell.
I think the design of it being all on grant this year was beneficial.
And the footprint was
Cause I know last year, part of it was
Okay.
on Texas and part of it went around the
couldn't
other side of the
see,
courthouse
yeah.
and that kind of thing.
Right.
I think having all of it on grant, I think made a huge impact. And keep in mind, you stretched the street out from Fifth Street all the way to
Right.
Sixth Street too, so there was just tons of traffic, an extra block.
yeah, and
of
then
traffic going through
Fourth
there,
all
so-
the way to the park was
Yeah,
also
so-
closed, but
yeah,
that
so
one
there
was
was-
mainly the kids area and the cooling stations
Yeah.
and the jumpers. And I actually had some vendors that just were not happy about being there. And then all of a sudden it got busy with the kids and we had sort of sectioned them off, which we worked really hard to try to put the kids stuff, the Dippin' Dots, everything that sort of catered for the kids a little bit more. And all of a sudden they were busy and I was like, are y'all okay? And they're like, oh no, we're great. So
It was perfect.
I didn't put the knives over there with the kids, you know? I didn't put the oil fill company with the
Axe
kids
throwing
either.
with
Yeah.
kids.
So we worked really hard when we did that. Yes, there was a little bit of changing on the day of, but it's okay. We did okay. But even then, we did. It was a nice layout. I think it was good.
It was good.
It was very good.
So other than the trash, I haven't heard anything. But trash has been an issue all week. So
Yeah, I think it's been an issue the past few years.
Oh, it's been-
anyway, so- Yeah, I don't think
But,
it's been.
Every
but
event.
beyond Fandango, it is every event downtown,
Yeah,
there is
yeah.
always a problem with trash.
It's an issue when there's not even an event.
Nice. Maybe we need trash cans downtown.
Oh,
all right.
I'm sorry. Poke the bear.
Moving on, discussions of the grants. Right now, I just have those two. We're waiting on. Anthony, I know started yours. 'Cause-
Yeah, I'm just
And
waiting
you're
on-
almost there, right?
Yeah,
I
I'm
can
almost
see
done.
it.
Yeah.
The next one is the old Nurses Unlimited building. I see them working on it all the time. They got another extension. We're hoping to get it done by December. I don't,
Where is that gonna be?
what is it gonna be?
I know where it is, but what is it gonna be?
The second floor is supposed to be office buildings, and he's trying to make the first floor as a restaurant or a food court. But everything he keeps telling me, I go, have you talked to the fire marshals? Because I think he's not understanding that they have to have fire resistant walls in between the 2 floors and things like that. So I don't know what the initial design is. He wanted it to be one restaurant.
I don't
Can
think
they
that
be
building
done
is
by-
sprinkled at all, though.
Can they be done by December if they don't even know what they're doing yet?
That'd be a push.
They can if they're only opening the 2nd floor and get and then having to move forward on the 2nd part.
How would they not know? They don't have an architect and a contractor and a building permit?
They
need a
do, but
building
now they're
permit.
trying to change that up.
Oh.
It's hard to change things.
Yeah, and
Well, originally, that's where Sidebar was going. They were going into that building, and for whatever reason, with trying to get the building done and whatnot, it just didn't work out. So, I mean, that's how long this has been going on.
I think the building will be done. They'll be able to move into the 2nd floor for the offices. I don't know about the 1st floor. Because
I'm sorry, I said
every time I
Sidebar.
talk to him, he gives me a different scenario. And so I finally told him he needed to talk to fire marshal's office because what he's thinking of is going to be a lot of changes and new designs.
It's not gonna be that easy to open the 2nd floor. You're gonna have to have
That's
access
what I
from the
was
outside.
wondering.
Can't go in the 1st floor if it's not done to get to the 2nd floor.
That's what I was gonna ask.
You
Like,
can't do
Can
that.
they even open offices if it's a construction zone on the 1st floor?
Unless there's an access from outside straight to the 2nd floor.
I don't
Go
believe
for the
there
is
up the
one.
Stairs every day.
That's what I'm saying, it's gonna be an issue.
On the
Yeah.
emergency
Yeah.
exit.
Because he told me he is talking to Cork and Pig and they were just going to open that on the 1st floor and then the offices on the 2nd. And then he can
How
never
many
get a
floors
hold
is
of
it?
anybody
It's
on.
2.
It's just 2 floors?
Yeah. But then when I was starting to ask questions, I ran into that whole firewalls and things like that. And I'm like, you need to talk to other people
the
other than me.
The biggest issue he's gonna have bringing a restaurant in is they didn't replace all that plumbing. They just tied into the old plumbing. They're gonna have issues, crazy issues.
Yeah, because the restaurant's going to ask for minimum 2-inch, right?
Well, the
Water
thing
and
is,
stuff?
all these old buildings come in with 3,
The
so you
3
gotta go
inch.
into 4-inch for the toilets, but all they did is tie into the old plumbing under the building.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't replace anything.
Pipes.
And that building's been there for,
Oh, yeah, that won't make it for a restaurant. Yeah.
when we opened the house, it only took 1 weekend to collapse the city line.
Oh, gosh.
And then depending on the occupancy, that's when you need a fire sprinkler system. I figured I
Yes.
learned that the other day
Over
too.
100. Yeah.
I've learned a lot of just asking questions for him, and so I'm wondering why he's not asking them either. So I only get him on the phone. I asked him to come down to the meeting. He couldn't get away from work, so
Who is he?
He's a doctor, ain't he?
he's a doctor.
I've met him once, but I can't remember.
can't
Pediatric
think of his name.
cardiologist.
We used to only have one of those.
He has an office in Midland too, because I saw his office the other day. I cannot think of the name of it. It's Pediocardio is the name of the business. I can't think
Right,
of his
I just
name.
wondered.
Yeah. So I did refer him back to inspections, and I referred him to the fire marshal's office because I think what he's dreaming of, and it sounds exciting. I don't think he understands it's going to take a lot longer than that. But at this point, all I can do is get him to the right people as well. Because
Very good.
after I did my homework, I learned quite a bit as that. All right, any questions, ideas?
Comments?
Comments?
We want to thank you on a fantastic Fandango.
Oh, well, thank
I want to thank Anthony Rios on his participation on helping set up everything and John Harridge also. He's not on this board anymore, but he volunteered and he really did a lot of work out there. So
Yeah.
really want to thank him for everything he did. Everybody on this board contributed at some point. So I want to thank everybody here as well. So I think we had a fantastic turnout and I think it'll only get better from here.
Good deal, thank you.
Yep, they work.
I was gonna explore one thing, and that would be the volunteer issue, going back to that. A volunteer is not a salaried person, you know? Is there any type of a perk or something that would also attract people to be a volunteer? I don't know if it'd be a T-shirt, I don't know if it'd be a free meal.
We
I
had
don't-
T-shirts, yeah, and we had pizza for volunteers, but
Any ideas to think about, you know, after we leave? How could we attract people
Yeah.
with some sort of a perk? It's just an idea.
Takes a check for people to work.
yeah, no, we had T-shirts and we had the pizza at lunchtime.
I think just having more time
Yeah.
is gonna be very beneficial to that,
And
because,
building your list of contacts for volunteers.
True.
If you think we need 100, do 150, because 50 probably won't show up.
Right.
Oh,
And if
yeah,
you
we
have
learned that the hard
150
way.
show up, cool.
Yeah. And if they show up, they show up.
Yeah.
Great.
You're not gonna have too many volunteers, that's just not gonna
No.
happen.
What about the vendors? What if, what do we charge a vendor to come into the event again?
200.
$200. Say if they were to bring in 4 or 5 volunteers, maybe we could waive that fee for them or something like that, that would help.
Or some of it.
To get
Or
volunteers in.
refund part
You know,
of it.
something like that, yeah, something that would, an incentive for them to come, not only come in to have their venue, but, give them like a price break on getting into the venue. If they have 4 or 5 volunteers to help you
Yeah.
set up something like that, I would think that might be something we could take a look at.
That's worth
Definitely
exploring.
something to
Yeah.
It's not bad.
You're just gonna have to be firm
Yeah.
on what the expectation is, that way
Yeah.
they don't end up working that
That's what I
booth.
Right, exactly.
But
Yeah.
they were here,
Or
yes,
just
but they were
not
working for
showing.
you.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
working your, yeah, your
Or
food
just
truck,
going
so.
and listening to the
Yeah.
concert
The band, yeah.
instead of
No.
They got in
emptying
free.
trashes.
Well,
Right.
and the big thing is you put T-shirts on them, so you recognize all of them. You have them out there doing exactly what you need out there.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, it's
I learned that
Those
I need,
flags like the ATV.
I need a head volunteer for every section.
well, we
will.
can't offer them free entry because it's already free for them to come in.
Right.
So you know what I mean? That doesn't work. So
That
you
was
know, we
one of
got. But I figured with the food trucks, if they wanted maybe a price break, maybe we could do something like that. If they bring, you know, even 3 or 4, you know, it just. But you know, the amount of food trucks that we had, what was it, 35?
Food trucks,
No, there were 40 something.
Oh, it was 40.
Wow.
no, vendors was 40.
Vendors
The
was 40.
The food trucks came out to 27.
27. I mean, you look at that and multiply that by 5. You know
And
what
we
I mean?
did have food trucks that sold out
Oh, yeah.
and had,
The
That's
Trinitas.
awesome, I'm sure they were thrilled.
yes. And so I did learn something that we will charge by space.
Yeah.
You need more than
Yes.
20 feet, you're gonna
Yes.
pay more because that was a
one
big
of the issues
issue.
we ran into, because there was.
Yeah, and that will, I think will take care of that issue that we had this year, is they're not gonna try to expand a little bit more, because they all paid the same amount. So, if you wanna pay a little bit more, then we'll block out more area for you.
And that's where you could come up with, hey, but if you bring 4 or 5 volunteers to
Yeah,
help us
that,
with
I
this.
can, we can definitely tie that into that.
well, that's how
something-
others, if you look at Mary Market, I mean, you can get a little booth for
Any of
X,
them are like that.
or you
That's
can get a
standard.
quadruple
Yes, sir.
booth for
Yeah, absolutely.
X times
Right.
4.
Yeah.
And this time, I looked at it, just the flat fee for however size you needed, and that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah, I learned quite a bit along
Yeah,
the
some
process.
of them
I'm sure you
have-
did.
Yeah, some of them have over 20-foot trailers.
That's why I quit at
That's
like
what I was
10
about to
a.m. in the
say,
morning. I was
too.
done. I'm like, I quit. I'm not
For
doing
our
this.
10 by 10
Right.
to be this
Right,
size and 30 foot.
You'll always learn.
So yeah, it was a learning experience. It was a big event to learn at, but
Right.
we got it.
It was good. You did
So
good.
I did want to say, I did talk to Claudia at Keep Odessa Beautiful to get a proposal put together for the TERS board. We are trying to get a meeting put together for the TERS to see if we can't figure out some way to buy trash cans.
Yay. You're gonna buy like 40?
See, and you're giving him a hard time, and he's been on the case already.
I'm trying to get some trash cans.
6 per
I was
block.
just reminding him.
Yeah.
But if it's something we can do and the TERS board agrees, then I think that's a pretty good partnership. And
And that's a great use of the money.
yeah,
I mean, it'll be a productive,
that's what it's there for. Yeah.
contributing factor to our community for hopefully a long time.
And I'm also curious if we can't use it. I was reading back through the things, but there is some infrastructure included. But we're gonna have to research if we can't do like a sign grant, and maybe that money can come out of that board too.
I would love that.
I don't know.
That'd be great to help some of these businesses downtown. You know, I'm sure that, you know, some of the older businesses there that have those old signs would love to update them.
Yeah.
Some of those signs are really cool. I mean, you know, just to get, I mean, but it's probably expensive to get them going because they're those old,
Yeah.
you know, and
Well, if
they
you
may,
look
they
at-
may be obsolete.
If
know,
you
who
look at a
knows?
lot of the, well, and that can be fixed, it just
Yeah.
it costs money,
Strips on the
but
inside.
you look at a lot of these downtowns, and that's the first thing you see is the signage. I mean,
Yeah.
Yes.
any picture you see of Nashville, it is that neon
Yeah.
row
Yeah.
that is lit up and happy, and you something you want to do.
Energetic.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Alrighty, anything else?
Anybody have anything? All right.
I didn't say anything.
We need a break.
Cut her off. I move to adjourn.
Yeah, Cruz, you got her. 11:54, meeting adjourned.